Well, my name is Susan Philipsz and I'm an artist who primarily works with sound. I have worked with various mediums, but sound is my primary tool. I suppose the main concerns in my work are how sound can define space. I mean, when I was a student, I studied sculpture, and I gradually became interested in sound and how it works in a kind of sculptural way. You know, I became interested in the physicality of making sound when singing and breathing, and what happens when you project sound out into a room and how it could define the architecture. So my interest in sound grew from there. I mean, as well as galleries and museums, I've worked in many different types of public space, from under bridges and parks, but mainly in cities. I've never worked with places like this before, so this was a real challenge, and also I've never worked on a project on this scale before. When I go to make a site visit, I'm looking for a particular thing that inspires me. It could be the history or the architecture or the atmosphere or the acoustics of a particular place, and those are the things that I'm looking for when I'm trying to find the right place. Well, when I was first invited by Insight to consider doing a project, I mean, I thought it was a real challenge, but I was very intrigued by the themes of that they have, which is coast, culture and communication, and those are themes that I have been interested in the past. And so when I came to do the site visit initially, I was brought to many incredible places. I first went to Bornholm, and then I was brought to the stone ships, and it was in this amazing snow blizzard. But it was only when I came to Grimeton, this radio station where we're in now, that I really had the beginnings of an idea. I mean, one thing I noticed that was each country, each place, Denmark, Sweden and Norway, had in common was these small little islets that you can see from the mainland, and I always thought that it was very beautiful. I mean, you look out to those little islands, you think of, I mean, it really does evoke of these themes of distance and separation, and I could imagine sound coming from those islands and travelling across the water. So the idea that I could work with Grimeton, and they would be almost like the heart of the project, and they would be transmitting the sound out to these 9 different locations, from Bornholm right up to Moss. And those other locations would almost be like the pulse for the project. And so you would experience the work on the hour from all of these different locations at the same time. So it'd be like this collective experience of the work, which I really liked. Well, the name for my project is The Distant Sound. And sound, of course, in English means something that you hear, but it also means the space between 2 landmasses, water between 2 landmasses. And it derives from the Norse word sund, which has its origins in sondra and sondra, which is in English means to separate, like torn asunder. You know, so those themes are themes that are in the work. These themes of distance and separation. So what I've done is I've recorded a hornist play at each tone of these radio interval signals separately, and then have them transmitted out into 3 separate frequencies. And a radio interval signal is what you would hear between radio broadcasts. Like every radio station used to have one, and it would determine which radio station you were tuning into. So it was like their own sort of individual jingle, if you like, and so I selected 9 of these, the most sort of distant and melancholy sounding ones, but also ones that were particular to this region, or the 3 regions, the 3 countries. And I was also interested in working with the islands, because, you know, I really wanted to evoke the sense of the sound being transmitted across water. What you hear are the sounds being spatialised over a very wide distance. from these little islands and from various types of spaces along the entire west coastline of Scandinavia. And I've chosen vintage radio interval signals. As I say, I wanted, because I think those are the ones that evoke distance and melancholy, and those are the themes that I'm interested in. Every hour you're going to hear the sound of horns from across a wide area, and based on these radio interval signals, and you might be in this place many times, but I think what will happen is you'll really become aware of the place you're in, and you might see or experience the architecture or in a new way. It'll make you heighten your sense of your awareness of yourself in space as the sound cuts across the ambient sounds. I think it'll change from location to location. I mean, it might be in a very built up, noisy time of day, and then you hear this distant sound, or it might be crystal clear. You know, I think it'll be continually changing, and I like that about it, that it's always changing. I mean, I think a horn it's open to lots of different interpretations, especially when it's projected outside and projected via the radio, because you really do that's there's something magical about a radio transmission when you know it's been transmitted wirelessly via radio. It's just, there's something quite magical about it, and so I think the sound then isn't crystal clear. I mean, you do have this sense of it being transmitted, so it opens it up to other interpretations that could also suggest ship's horns or old ancient horns, Scandinavian horns, or and then I think because where the speakers are located, they're so far apart from each other, it's almost like they're having this kind of dialogue with each other, almost like a kind of call and response across a wide space. What I like about the working with radio is that it really unifies all of the three countries, unifies the project, and you're having this collective experience at the same time. People listening in Moss at the same time as people listening in Bornholm are all hearing the same things, but it might be an entirely different experience.